Hi, it's Dr. Parikh, and you made it to Module 4. So this is our halfway point in the semester, so that's really exciting. You can see the readings and videos have gotten a lot shorter than they were in the first few weeks, and also you're spending a lot more time doing actual writing for your paper. So I have you look at one of the APA Academic Writer sample literature review papers. So this is meant to be published, but it still has a lot in common with the papers you're writing. And I want you to focus on the structure, formatting, and tone of that. You're also going to start looking at more mechanics of style. So that's often more what we consider grammar. And these are the rules that I most often correct students on. So there's certainly more to it. Again, I want you to look at the grammar guide and see what all they have here. Um, Although even this I don't think is a complete uh, list of all the stylistic issues. I don't know of concise writing. I think I may have to look to see. If I see something on concise writing, I will probably add it. I think it might be in some of the bigger modules, the tutorials. Um, we're kind of getting into the nitty gritties while you're writing. Some of this you've probably heard me mention in, or seen me mention in some of the feedback. If you're in the live class, the nice thing is that you hear me giving feedback to a few of your peers, and so that ends up going nicely as far as you get to hear hints on things that you might not have made a mistake about yet. And writing with style, I still do think this is helpful. Appendix 1, I believe, is a sample paper, but it talks a lot more about the process of writing. So if you're really feeling lost in how to approach all this and the APA manual just isn't quite supportive enough, I would really consider renting Writing with Style for a little bit and doing some of these readings. Here you are mostly working on laying out, really kind of creating the framework for your literature review paper, but you also are starting to think about your research question. Maybe, actually, as I'm looking at it, that might be something that gets moved to next week. I think I'm going to do that right now, as I notice, because one of the benefits of, yeah, I think this makes more sense. I'll stick that there. That's part of the benefits of having a slightly lighter version of the class. So you're gonna think about your discussion and your literature review themes. I'm flip-flopping the order that they come in the paper, and that's because I think the discussion is a little more straightforward and is a little easier for students to write. Keep in mind there's a paragraph of the discussion section that isn't included in the outline because it's a summary of what you've written in your literature review and you haven't really nailed down what that plan is yet, so it doesn't make sense. So the discussion outline just focuses on the limitations, future research, and professional applications. Um, you still have your writing check-in post, but this time you do a peer review post. This is the only time you post drafts of paper sections. So if we go to oh, we were in the discussion board, sorry. If you go to the discussion board, you see the draft. What I want you to do for this is you'll link yours. You can upload a Word document. You could do a PDF, although you're going to get very limited feedback if you do that. The easiest is to upload a Google Doc, especially if that's what you're working in already. But when you share that Google Doc, so you can't just copy and paste the link up here. As far as I can tell, it does not work. And a lot of people post links that don't work. You have to hit here and copy link, but you also have to make sure that the person can at least comment. If they can just view, they can read and they can tell you some strengths and weaknesses, but they can't make any suggestions, they can't make any comments in your document. And that's what's really valuable. So make sure that you have your share settings correctly and that you get the right link. Um, Ideally, you'll give people feedback to two people, and you always want to check first for anyone who doesn't have any comments yet. But if that person, sometimes that person doesn't have comments because the link they shared isn't actually a shareable link, uh, and you can't access it. So um, If there's no if nobody has had comments yet, or I'm sorry, if there's nobody who hasn't had comments, or if the only people who haven't had comments aren't accessible, then feel free to give comments. Even if someone else, ideally everyone ends up with feedback from two people. But if you have to, uh, I'm okay with you giving a third set of feedback to somebody. Particularly, if it's before the due date for posting, I'm going to say, I spaced this out for a reason, give people a chance to post. But if the due date has passed and you still don't have new people to comment on, then yes, comment. It's also a good time to mention, it might have already happened to you, but if there's ever a time where you don't, the due date has passed for the first posting and you don't have enough posts within your group to respond to, of course, go outside your group and make posts. I can't imagine there's ever a time you can't do that to get it. Usually, you just need two responses. Um, and then also, if you kind of go above and beyond, or you do more than the required number of reviews, you get extra points. This is also a good time. Come to think of it, I don't know if I've mentioned it so far. Uh, but pretty much anytime you give extra comments on discussion board posts, you get about a point for every comment, and I let you have up to about 5 points extra credit total. But just as a reminder, you can give extra reviews. I used to require using here in the templates, there are peer review forms. I used to require these, but they're pretty detailed, and I think they were difficult for a lot of students. So and I think with Google Docs, it's easy to give more detailed feedback. They're here. I haven't deleted them. I think they're especially helpful for checking your own paper, but I'm not requiring them anymore because it kind of added an extra step of difficulty. So you comment on, you make some comments within their document, unless it's a PDF, and you certainly can, but that's harder, so I'm not going to require it. Uh, and then you respond to their post with at least one strength, so something they did well, and at least one suggestion for improvement. Something they might add, something that you think they may want to ask about at the Writing Center, things like that. Just as a heads up, the literature review themes peer review that's coming up, again, it's hard if you only look at 1 week at a time because weeks are so short. So that's going to be due on Tuesday of next week, just the way that things fall, so that you have enough time to get a little bit of feedback before your final paper is due. And then on Thursday, you're going to post a draft of your full paper. And it's up to you if you want to try to keep commenting on the same person's drafts to see how it changes over time, or if you want to try to switch things up. Again, you're a little limited because you're going to be trying to make sure that you give everybody has a chance for feedback. So you do your discussion outline, and then the next day you post your draft of it. Uh, the outline is very detailed, so it's almost like the draft already. And then on Sunday, you're going to do your literature review themes outline. This week can be a crisis point for a lot of students. It's often what they consider to be the biggest crunch in the semester because you're making a lot of decisions. You're doing new things, hard things. If you're stuck, reach out to the Writing Center, reach out to your peers through the discussion boards, reach out to me through email, through office hours, through any way you can get to me. But once you get through Module 4, the rest of the class usually feels easier for students, which is nice because if you're in the online class, the rest of your classes are really starting to heat up now. Whereas this class is starting to, you know, it's not winding down quite yet, but you're doing a lot fewer brand new things that you don't know how to do. If you're taking this for the full semester, then this is hitting at about the same midterm point that everyone else is, but you get a couple days off class for individual meetings, so that's nice. Another reminder of what's coming up, speaking of individual meetings, go think about scheduling an appointment with me. If you're in a live class, you're required to meet individually with me. If you're online, you have the option to meet with me or request a video. I highly recommend meeting with me because there is so much gained from the back and forth. But I will, we're asynchronous. I will give you a video if you don't think you can feasibly meet with me. The meetings are typically about half an hour. and we go in detail over your completed paper, and this is how I grade the paper. So if I do a video, I am still clicking the rubrics as I'm grading. I find that I can give a lot more and a lot nuanced feedback that way. Um, Compared to written comments, and students have said that it really, it really changes what they get out of the course. I also find that written comments can sometimes be difficult because if you didn't understand what you were supposed to do the first time, a written comment doesn't always clarify that for you. So this way, it lets me give more nuanced, spoken, detailed feedback with all the nonverbal stuff to go with it. So keep in mind, you probably have gotten emails about the deadline. When I have individual meetings, I tend to open up my schedule as widely as I possibly can. So I try to create about twice as many slots as I need. But I also really struggle when I have an unpredictable schedule because I don't just staff my desk. I have a lot of different things that I do during the week, including meetings, grading, course prep, letters of recommendation, lots and lots of emails. And so it's tough for me when I have a wide open schedule that people can book anything at the last minute. So I usually like to close out those appointments you know, a few days to a week ahead of time just so that I know how to plan the rest of my schedule. Even things like planning daycare pickups with my partner or figuring out who's going to cook dinner which day. That all varies based on these meetings. So it's really important to me. I do a lot to accommodate students. If you want to meet and none of the appointments work for you, let me know, especially if you want an evening time. I am open to those, but it's going to be something I require students to ask me about. It's typically not something that I offer up right away. Let's see. Yeah. And I think something I did bumped that down, maybe. I'll deal with that later. So let's just double check. Module 4 ends with the literature review themes outline. And I try to give you feedback fairly quickly on, there's always something that I'm giving you feedback on. But I certainly try to make sure you get feedback on your outline before you have your literature review paper. It's also a good time to remind you you're going to be required to do your second tutoring reflection soon. So make sure that you have time to go to the writing center or use the smart thinking tutoring. So a lot's coming up. Things are heating up in this class, but it's a pinch that's going to get better. Almost all students find that Module 5 on flows a little better. With that, bye bye.